Hello, 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 and welcome in to Beyond the Den, presented by Bear Claw Media. I am Chris Bolin, and I am joined, as always, by Ben Schleiger. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
I'm a little rusty, but it's all right. We'll figure it out. Good football this week, even better football next week. We have some doozies next week for sure for pick'ems, but not to get ahead of ourselves. One Friday game, 3 Saturday games. What'd you think, Chris?
So my the most interesting game to me, I think the main takeaway, rematch of Brawl of the Wild. This is exactly what we thought, and I think even more so this week than we would have said last week. The winner of Brawl of the Wild is like 1,000,000% in the driver's seat to win the whole thing here. But let's start with the Friday game. As Ben drops out, I will try to ad lib here to see if I can give him at least a little bit of time to pop back up into the call. But that first game of the weekend was Montana State 44 over Stephen F. Austin 28. Bit of not a weird one. Montana State was pretty in control. SF Austin tried to make it, just a little bit interesting there at the end. And we have Ben back, so my ad lib is over. Ben, I was just telling the people here as my other computer starts making noise. Montana State 44, SF Austin 28. Bobcats in control. The Jacks made it a little interesting at the end, but what were your thoughts on this one in a game that went, I think, like most people kind of expected it to?
Yeah, and this one I was trying to sneak some Twitter highlights as I could, as I was at a pretty notable Christmas party and enjoying several libations. So didn't want to get too into the weeds on this one, but Montana State, they did what they needed to. Justin Lamson, got to clean it up going forward. Like very, very good in the passing game, but like still having an interception. SFA is good, but the Bobcats are going to have to be perfect next week. So I think everybody did what they needed to. Running game was insane. Adam Jones, only 9 carries, but 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like Adam Jones, he's back. He's, feeling himself in the playoffs. Also for like receiving, like for Montana State to actually be leading and receiving over rushing, a little bit of a different feel there. So yeah, they made a former Grizz quarterback Sam Vidlac definitely work for it. It just wasn't in the cards for him. Not enough in the tank. Just between that and the fumbles lost by Vidlac, and the interception they threw, it was a great season for SFA. They just didn't have the right components. There wasn't enough horsepower on that roster to be able to overtake the Bobcats. Also, shout out to Coach saying go beat the Grizz next week. I was like, that's crazy to say with like a former Montana quarterback right next to you.
Is that what SF Austin's coach said?
Yeah, in the presser, he was like, "Yeah, go beat the Grizz next week." And I was like, "Dude, Vidlac's right."
I wonder if there might be a little bit of bad blood between Vidlac and the Grizz. I wonder if that's
true.
why
I guess he could
that.
probably go either way if things were sour there, because he didn't get chosen as the starter.
He actually did get benched mid-season. Actually, now that I think about it, I'd be sour if I was Vidlac. He got benched mid-season for Clifton McDowell, who had a fine year, but I guess did take him to the Natty. So can't really criticize in retrospect. But I think SFA kind of what's the word? They acquitted themselves here. I think I was kind of shook when I don't remember which talking head gave the ranking of the remaining playoff teams and had Stephen F. Austin 8th out of 8. I think Stephen F. Austin was a little disrespected, and I think they showed that they are a good team. But Montana State, I think, showed that they're the best team left. That may not pan out when it comes to a rematch of Brawl next week, but I think I'm confident in saying that. So
I mean, outside of the
I
last 2 weeks for Montana State and their losses at the beginning of the year, this was their best opponent or their best played opponent yards and points wise. Um, Everybody else, even including UC Davis, was a little bit worse off than how SFA performed. So, got to give them a tips off. They performed better than most of the Big Sky. So at least there's that for them to hang their hats on, as they overperformed over 80 to 90% of the Big Sky, and you know the only ones to beat Montana State so far on the season are a South Dakota State team that were at full strength in Oregon. So I think overall good season for SFA. They just eventually ran into a buzzsaw that they couldn't dismantle.
no 100% agree on that. Then let's move to the first game on Saturday. It is what I guess I watching it. I felt like so Villanova won 26-21. What when they went to post game or halftime of the Montana South Dakota game, they were like a monumental upset in the quarterfinals with Villanova over Tarleton, and I was like, I guess. I agree, an upset, but if you watch that game, it didn't look like Villanova was the underdog necessarily. Tarleton scored 2 early touchdowns, looked like it could have been a blowout there. And then Villanova was just the better team for the rest of the game. It was kind of, I wrote down, it's Tarleton was super frustrating because you could tell they were actually a better football team or a more talented football team, and they just like had no confidence like outside of the first drive of each half. Like, and I thought in that second half when they came out and scored on like 4 plays, I was like, okay, Tarleton's gonna win by 2 touchdowns. They figured they kind of got back on track. The shout out to Villanova, they immediately answered, scored a touchdown, just hang ahead for the whole game or for the whole second half, basically. And then Tarleton drives down last drive of the game, scores the touchdown. UNC is all too familiar with having that taken off the board. It just a great game, great game. I think Tarleton should have. Villanova deserved to win. I think Tarleton wins probably 8 times if they play 10. But that's why there's a single elimination bracket, and the Villanova Wildcats are heading to the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, like overall, like great job to them. I think it's a good way to put it, is they didn't look like the underdog. Sure, the 2 easy touchdowns, that was definitely like a hot start, but Tarleton, they came out hot and they cooled off very quickly. And again, like Villanova, like they've been a good team all year. They're 12-2 on the year. Just how Tarleton State's going to finish their year. Um, so not like this was some out of the blue like Pioneer or Southland team that came out of nowhere and just like you know took the world by storm. Like Villanova's a blue blood per se. I would say not necessarily in like the championship way, but in the sense of like having a
They
good
have
quality football team. They've always had something to talk about. Um, I think the worst part here is like Villanova could have put this game away a lot earlier in the day. Turnover in the end zone really affected their momentum, so put them behind where Tarleton was in the driver's seat for a bit. But honestly, like Tarleton, they just fell apart down the stretch. I don't know if it was a combination of the coach panicking and Victor Gabalis panicking. Victor, like, just very much a systematic, mechanical quarterback where he could put things on a dime to the stitch of the number on the jersey, but he was just a little bit off this week. An interception that did not, that was definitely a mark on his record. But I think the last drive specifically, um, he made choices that were very out of character. A couple plays before they were throwing to the end zone, he definitely could have dotted a tight end that was wide open in the flats to the left. Didn't see him because there was a guy rushing up the middle, which fair, but like he was open for a good 3 seconds. Like could have dumped it off, could have gotten half the yardage that you needed. The next play following that, he he got pressure up the middle, and he could have dumped it off to the running back who didn't have anybody around him for 5 yards on either side. I know it's not a first down, but again, you could have made up ground on getting to the first down, and he decides to run out of bounds and cause it to be a 4th and 6. And then I think, was it that play or was it a few sequences later where he throws it to the end zone and it looks great, and then replay, dude's foot just levitates. Like it never had a chance. It got called a touchdown, went to the replay, and automatically we all knew, wow, that's tough.
I wrote down immediate reaction to touchdown, no chance, a yard out of bounds. And then when I saw the replay, I was like, okay, I see what the ref saw in calling it inbounds, but yeah, like it was just I also, could he have just run it there? Like the first instinct was he should have run it. Then looking back at a second angle, there was kind of a guy closing in on him, so maybe it wasn't as guaranteed as I thought. But Tarleton also really helped by Villanova pass interferences on that last drive. I feel like all of them actually did seem justified, but it was something that was at least notable. That was what helped Tarleton get down the field. And then on that, when Nova got the ball back, they almost got shysted by the slide. I don't know if you remember that play. Either the wide receiver, I think, slid down on third down or second down to stay in bounds, and the ref, as they do, fucking trots their happy ass 3 yards behind where he started sliding and spots the ball.
Yep.
But 2 great RPO little like dump off pass calls by Villanova there, because I think if they had just handed the ball off, Tarleton would have gotten it back with at least a chance. So some clever play calling by Nova there to seal it as well. Just a good game, like the type of game you love to see in this round of the playoffs. Then let's take it forward to South Dakota heading to Wa Grizz at Montana. This one ended 52-22. I was a little bit higher on South Dakota. I thought them and Montana were having a similar season in the way that they're both playing their best football right now. And if that is true, Montana's best is 30 points better than South Dakota's best. So just a statement win by Houck and the Grizzlies to send them to the semifinals. One thing, Ben, the one note I took about this game, 2 notes, because LJ Phillips, I don't know if he actually hit it, but he had a chance to get to 2,000 yards in that game, which made me feel good because we contributed greatly as giving him 300 when we played him. But this feels kind of like a defining year in Bobby Houck's career. Like it's at least the defining season of the second stint, because 2 years ago when he made the title game, they were obviously going to lose. South Dakota State was just the best team in the country by far that year. And then going back, I wasn't paying much attention in like the 2000s when he was there the first time. I think he's underperformed with the teams he's had. He lost. It'd be funny if Montana wins and sets up a rematch with Villanova of the 2009 title game that Villanova won when Montana was undefeated. This just feels like the first time in the second stint of Houck's career that he has a legitimate chance to win. And like, I think that, and if he doesn't, I don't think it's necessarily I think if he doesn't, there's more than enough evidence to say this guy can't win the big game. If there's not already.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think you're right. This is the defining game. Is like you lost. The only game you lost all year is to the worst one you could have chosen, to the in-state, to the rival of all rivals. Literally, like you smoked so many other opponents and whatnot.
Ben's computer also booted him out once again, as we are dealing with our normal Riverside issues. Is this software is fantastic, but it takes just short of a jet engine to keep it running without lagging severely or crashing on a normal computer. But I think where Ben was going was Montana just dominated everybody they played basically all season. They just ran through. Not, I mean, I guess that's not even true. Early in the year, they struggled a bit, but they won every game. Down the stretch, they were taking care of business. Iwu game, maybe a little bit off of that script, but they did everything they needed to do until that battle of the Brawl of the Wild. I imagine you were kind of basically. I was trying to guess what you were saying there, Ben, before you cut out.
Yeah, Riverside didn't want me to say anything nice about Montana, so you know who Riverside is cheering for in the playoffs. But yeah, like just basically, if Montana doesn't throw that pick six to Caden, to Caden Fowler, right? Taco Dowler,
Caden
Caden
Dowler.
Dowler. There we go. If he doesn't throw it straight to Taco's brother, you know that game goes differently. The whole playoffs go differently. Who knows what we see from that? But you know, Montana, they smoked South Dakota State, which Montana State couldn't do earlier in the season. South Dakota goes down. Who would have figured, Chris, that South Dakota would be a 10 win team from what we saw against UNC?
Seriously,
Like
that's
big turnaround
and
there. They couldn't cash in
yeah,
on the playoffs, but like here we are. I feel like you're right. Like Bobby Houck has to win this game because he lost the Brawl of the Wild in Missoula. Like you were undefeated, lost it in Missoula. Like that alone would have been like lock your doors, like keep the guns loaded type night. If you lose a second time in Bozeman when you can like enact justice per se for the Montanans on that side of the rivalry and whatnot, I don't know, man. Like that might be, oh, he wouldn't get fired for it, but like changes have to happen. Like if you lose the Brawl of the Wild, the first ever in the playoffs, since 1897. Um, like if you lose that game with winner goes to the Natty, dude, it's over. You're not
that's a great
fired, but
point.
there's gonna be some serious punishments.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing is, I don't even know if there will be. I wonder if it's like if it happens though. I think Montana's just stuck playing being the younger brother until Brett Vegan decides to go elsewhere. Like because you can't fire him. What do you overhaul? Do you like what kind of really changes do you make? Because you did have a 14-2 season, a 13-2 season. So like but it feels like they're almost so handcuffed because of that it's like they just have to accept that they're not going to be better as a program than Montana State until Brett Vegan leaves. Like Brett Vegan is just better than Bobby Houck at this point.
I
But yeah,
think this is going to be a huge game in the sense of like obviously you have to win this week. Like no matter which side you are, like this is a must win. It's the first time ever, blah blah blah, all that jazz. But if you win this game and you lose next week against Villanova or Illinois State, well 2 weeks from now, um, like I don't know how you show your face around the state because that means neither of these great coaches can win the big game. I think that's almost like the worst place to be is there's not even a guy to outdo. It's neither of the dudes can be the guy.
yes, Siri, that's a great point.
So for the
I
Big
guess it's
Sky at
just
least,
one of
like
those.
it's a must win the next 2 weeks. Like not just for, the sake of like, winning the rivalry and winning the title, but establishing that you're a coach who can get it done. Like I know, it's very very cliche for us to be saying that as we're, fourth worst in the conference, but like looking at it like topside, like if you're gonna be the guy, you got to beat the guy. And like if either of them lose to, um, I don't even know who Villanova's. I don't know what Villanova's coach looks like, but Redbirds, the stash that's been all over Twitter. If you lose to the stash or Blue Blood Villanova, like I don't know, that it's going to put a stark commentary on both the Missouri Valley and the Big Sky of just like everybody outside of North Dakota State is all of a sudden a step lower, a step more even with the FCS. Like we're already going to have that narrative because NDSU lost Illinois State of like, hey man, it's not a green and yellow world. Like we can actually have some variation, some parity. But yeah, I think that's almost the problem in this case is if you're gonna have disparity in the parity if you let if you don't if you win the rivalry game but you don't win the ship.
Yeah, it's a good point. We are, I mean, I think it's been, whether we want to admit it or not, the Missouri Valley's been the better conference over the past 15 years. I mean, really over the past like 2 or 3, I can say confidently, but ever since North Dakota State really made their like their come up, South Dakota State kind of took over for 2 years and then, or for a
I'd say
year or two.
15 because that's the last time a Big Sky team won when Eastern won in 2010.
Yeah. So also Bobby Houck's 7-7 in Brawl of the Wilds, both first stint and this. He's 5-2 in his first stint, 2-5 so far in this stint. Yeah. So he has a chance to go under 500 here if they lose this week. But we'll get into that a bit more. Let's hit the last game of this week. This is the one that I have the least opinions on. Illinois State 42, UC Davis 31. I think I picked Illinois State in our pick'em, but I woke up on Saturday just like, there's no way UC Davis wins this game. It just, I don't know what clicked in my mind, but I was like, there's no chance. UC Davis has been kind of, I don't want to say fraudulent, but they've had some holes all season. Illinois State coming off of a win at NDSU, keeping the Missouri Valley's football chances alive here for one more week at least, moving them into the semis.
Yeah, I think this is the first time outside of Montana State that it really looks like this is a freshman quarterback, and I don't know. It's fair and not fair to say because Caden Pinnock is most likely going to win the Jerry Rice Award, or at least
He also threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like he's got to be right up in there for that award. Even so, it's just kind of just didn't have the pieces, didn't find a way to get the offense going. At the end of the day, just Jordan Fisher held in check. Sam Batu, even as crazy it is to say, at 6 catches for 99 yards, he was held in check as well. So just across the board, UC Davis didn't have the momentum to really run anywhere with it, which is crazy because I was picking it solely based off of, oh yeah, like Illinois State's not going to have the firepower left. Like they just beat North Dakota State. Like they're running on vibes right now. Like no way. But iron's still hot, so they're still striking.
Yeah, and another good season by UC Davis, though. I think they overperformed kind of what they have, losing their quarterback who'd started for 4 years. Lance Larson, like best running back in the country, losing him. They played a good coaching job by Tim Plow. Just I think they just ran into a better team, which is weird to say. Is Illinois State unseeded in this?
Yes.
So yeah. But that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Sometimes the cheese just slides off the cracker for you.
We'll have a weird matchup going forward because it's going to be unseeded versus 12 seed, and then was it
2 versus
2
3.
versus 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit weird there. Also, Chris, you got to take your victory lap as South Carolina State. They won, but we're picking out the spreads, and Chris was at 2.5, and it was a 2-point finish. So, Chris, take your victory lap on the game that South Carolina State didn't really win. Somehow called a touchdown on the replay, because once it went to 4 overtimes, you were set. Spread was locked. Chris was getting the points. But crazy finish. 4 overtimes. Celebration Bowl had never gone to overtime, or only gone to overtime once before. Never gone to 4, most definitely. And South Carolina State threw a pass out. Dude was lunging for the pylon as he was going out of bounds, and the ball was out of bounds the entire time. But it was called touchdown on the field, and instant replay looked at it. It looked pretty overturnable to me, but Chris gets the win.
Yeah, weird. Didn't feel like it because I don't know what the exact score was, but
40-38.
Or not that one, but there was Prairie View A&M blew the biggest lead in Celebration Bowl history, right? And I don't know exactly what the score
They were
was
up
at that,
21-0 at one point.
Okay, so it just didn't feel like a win after all that watching, and I didn't actually realize that the spread was set at 3.5 until I checked that this morning, and I was like, "Oh wait, I actually got that one."
Mm-hmm.
I would have been sweating a little less, but another great game. Like you said, replay, man. Do we even need replay at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it was the one that shouldn't have been. I was just like, I don't know how you didn't overturn it. The pylon's here, and the ball cutely just doesn't even, it makes a C shape around it. It does not stay in the field of play. But shout out to both teams. Great game, great season. Both teams end with 10-win seasons, which is a high mark for both of them, for definitely a peak, a personal best for the last couple of years of these programs really reaching a high point. But ultimately, you got to go with the call on the field. We know that pretty hard as Bears fans.
The thing is, they should just, who gives a shit about the call on the field? Either don't review it and go with the call on the field, or review it and just look at the play. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the times they'll just call it a touchdown so they can get the automatic review. And then it's because it's too close to change it, even though we all pretty much agree that there wasn't a touchdown. Mm-hmm. But there's is it inconclusive? It's just either. I'm kind of just settling on, we don't even need to review things. We just, if they fuck it up on the field, they fuck it up on the field, because they just fuck it up in replay. It's not like they're getting these right all the time because they're reviewing them. The games would take fucking 40 less minutes because we don't have fucking 90-year-old geriatric referee running all the way to the opposite end of the field to go stick his head in a booth where it's even making the decision. I'm assuming somebody else is in his headset talking to him too. It's just stupid. It's stupid, Ben. We need replay is broken. Let's just throw it away. Who cares if we get a call wrong or two? Just don't play. You don't play the replay on the screen in the stadium anyway. Who gives a shit? Let's just move on.
See, but Chris, weren't you the same one that was advocating for laser pointers being on the top of field goal posts because the amount of field goals that have been marked out at Nottingham seems criminal?
I think I can with in good conscience argue for both, because then that would negate the need for replay. Is if we had the technology.
Fair enough.
That if they're just
they're the post the Kings, isn't reviewable.
Yeah, they're just the Kings. It's the Kings light the beam where they just go up into the sky, and then if you, I'm sure then they can decipher what part of the ball crosses over, and maybe you have to get 80% inside, or it would in theory doink out. But yeah, I guess I didn't even know I felt that passionately, but I'm fucking done with replay.
That's fair.
On that note, let's move forward. We have also what's Tremaine Jackson,
yep.
Who's the Prairie View A&M coach. I think he's gonna be in the Sun Belt in 2 years, and we're gonna look up and who's a bad Sun Belt. UL Monroe is gonna be winning the Sun Belt all of a sudden, and we're gonna be oh shit, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, he went.
He was at, I don't know if he was Western or what. He was one D2.
Because Jay Walker was talking about it. It's one of the best worst to first type seasons. I don't know that Prairie View was necessarily the worst last season. It wasn't paying attention to him that hard, but he said it was like one of the best program turnarounds in a freshman coach's year on campus. So definitely huge shout out. Again, it's icky. Like I'm glad I was right, but also like I would have liked to have seen them just keep on duking it out until a more definitive decision came out.
Yeah. Tremaine Jackson, though, Colorado Mesa for 2 years, COVID shortened year, then 1 8-2 season. 3 years at Valdosta State. I'm assuming he's a southeastern guy to go from Mesa to Valdosta. 5-6 his first year, then 12-2, 13-1 immediately, and then 1 year with Prairie View A&M 10-4. So I have full confidence, and if he stays, I wouldn't even be surprised if he's the cycle's a little bit over. Maybe not though with Michigan and kind of popping up here, but he'll probably be at A&M next year. After that, I would be shocked if he wasn't in an FBS spot. And you know what the worst part about all of those rants I just went on, Ben, is I didn't take any of that time to pull up the FCS Reddit sportsbook. So
That's right. As you pull that up, I'll give the preview to the folks. So, game. Let's see, 2:00, 5:30. Okay, so we have a 2:00 and a 5:30. Huzzah! We can see both, and we don't have to gripe and whine that we can't see either. But 2:00, starting off in Bozeman, Montana. 12-1 Montana, only loss on the year to Montana State.
Buddy, it's beautiful that the game already pulled up in the sports book is Montana at Montana State. I must have been looking at this last time.
Nice. Goes to 12-2 Montana State, only losses on the year to South Dakota State, which Grizz put out of the playoffs, and Oregon, number 7 in the FBS at the time. So pretty prolific passers out of Keely Ayat, and then Justin Lamson transfer in. He's done a lot more passing than I think anybody expected of a Bobcat quarterback. Running backs about the same. Eli Gilman and Davis on the other side, Julius Davis. Adam Jones, surprisingly not the rusher of the year for the Bobcats. Receiving yards for kind of like big, foe versus foe is Michael Wortham and Taco Dowler. Kind of we expected both of them to have lesser seasons, but both came out to be the leading receivers for their team and also leading special teamers.
I'm sorry, I missed whatever the setup you hit me with was, but I have a line for that Montana at Montana State game. Assuming this one's safe to say it'll be the game of the week. And the Bob Kitties are favored by 8.
8?
8 points at home.
God.
Which
I'm going to look like egg on my face, but Chris, I have a quick pick on this one, and it's Montana.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like
You're with me on the Bobby Houck train? Are you just playing defense of your 1-point lead?
No, but Montana, if it was under a touchdown, I'd pick Montana State, I think. It's just that's too many points to try to give to Montana State.
Do we need to pick this one closer to game time? Like, we'll make an official pick on here and see what game time decision is.
Yeah, if you want, we can hold off and we can see what the line is on Saturday morning and pick them there.
They think that they're going to blow out the Grizz just because it's in Bozeman. Pretty good.
Well, I mean, I think that is the I guess the thought is I'm pretty sure the last. God, what tab did I have? I had all the.
It was 31-28 last time, so they're saying that it's going to be a 5-point swing because it's in Bozeman.
Which the last handful of Brawl of the Wilds though before this year had been blowouts in favor of the home team. Let me see if I can. That's the only thing. I think the first thing is this FCS Sportsbook isn't always perfect, so that's thing number one. But the other thing has to be probably it was what was it? 34-11 Bobcats last year, 37-7 Grizzlies the year before, 55-21 Bobcats the year before, 29-10 Grizzlies the year before, 48-14 Bobcats the year. So like before that, they'd all been at least like 3 touchdown games in favor of the home team. So I
Even if it was a close spread, I'm picking Montana. Like, I feel like there's just
oh
so
okay.
much hate and vitriol that, like, they have to perform. They have to go in there and just go guns blazing. And I know it's dangerous because we just had a monologue about you have to win the rivalry and the ship, otherwise you look like dog shit. Um, but I'm gonna say like Montana has performed better in the playoffs. I think a tougher, crazy to say, tougher slate and better margin of victories. Granted, South Dakota might have been exhausted from running around 47 points last week, but that's their own fault. Um, South Dakota State, they got back on their horse. They might not have been as full power as they were at the beginning of the year against Montana State, but again, maybe Montana State wasn't as aware earlier in the year. So I think overall the Grizz have a better resume and better performance in the playoffs.
I'm actually I don't no, I don't think I agree on the resume part. I do agree on the better performance in the playoffs part. I think they have impressed me the last couple weeks. Even in that South Dakota game, I like the line. We picked it at minus 13.5, and you still picked the Grizzlies and got it right. It settled at 7.5, and I bet South Dakota at 7.5. And even as I placed it, I was like, I want this to be true, but I just like I think I'm on the wrong side. Um, and I was. So I'm with you at 8 points. 100 times out of 100, I'm picking the Grizzlies. We'll talk on Saturday morning. I can give an official pick there because I bet the line will be a little bit closer to 5. And if it's at 5, I actually have to think about it like pretty.
That way it gives Chris to wiggle out where he doesn't have to pick Bobby Hauck's
Have
team.
to pick. um, so I also have a pretty solid pick on this other game based on the spread that the FCS Sports, the Reddit Sportsbook, has given
Yeah, it
us.
makes me worried.
Illinois State at Villanova. The Wildcats are favored by 5.5 at home.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm gonna take Villanova. I've been
Okay.
against both teams and had egg on my face for both of them, but I've been more high on Villanova throughout the season. Illinois State, I did have them
You
flirting
have.
around 6 in some of our redshirt polls, but Villanova I've consistently had within the top 15 the entire year. Illinois State, they kind of floated around. They had some rough weeks. Their 4 losses, 2 of those looked pretty rough. To the eye test and not just to North Dakota State because they avenged that. But overall, I'm gonna go with Villanova. I feel like they had more. I think they had 1 FBS loss and 1 fluky loss, and I'm just gonna go with like the record, respect the record, and I'm gonna go with Villanova. They took out Darlington, so they took out Darlington, so I'm gonna roll with them since they slayed my other playoff favorite.
Yeah, I am going to go with Illinois State. I might be stupid because Villanova's just been that team that, like, because it was Lehigh the week before. It's just, I don't feel great about any of the wins, but they've just, like, they have something to them. They have, like, something that I can't quite describe. Like a grittiness, a toughness. I immediately start trying to describe it after saying I can't. Um, I'm very scared. I think at 5.5 points, I'm going. Actually, I know at 5.5 points, I'm going Illinois State. And I think I'm confident.
That's fair. I mean, after their
I was
performance
confident
last
when
week,
I.
I think Jabril Mace really impressed me. Like, if I had to describe him, I would say NASCAR like speed. Like, dude just takes off, and I think that was something that Tarleton did not respect, and that's part of the problem that they allowed one of the touchdowns from him is from his 40-yard dash. Is just I gotta say, like I was really impressed by that. I think both quarterbacks are very impressive going into this. Rittenhouse, I would give the tie to, probably 6 or 7 times out of 10. But I think Mace is, even though Dawson's a very impressive runner, they mostly try to get their scores through the air. So I think that Villanova has a more balanced attack, 23 touchdowns through the air and 12 on the ground for their leaders versus 34 through the air to 4 touchdowns. Rittenhouse and the company, like, it's a more explosive crew, but Villanova's shown through these playoffs, whether it was Lehigh or Tarleton, that they can just cause a slow bleed to be the death of their opponent.
My last thing on Illinois State, their helmet stickers look sick. More schools should go. Like, I don't know if schools have moved away from it or if there's only like 3 that ever did it. I feel like it used to be more popular, and I think it looks cool. So I shout out to the Redbirds. Good work all around. I think it'll be fun to have an unseeded team in the championship game, especially an unseeded team that like legitimately might be able to win it. You know, like they won't be. It's not likely they won't be favored, but they did beat NDSU, so there's not like a team that I imagine they're going to be afraid of.
I don't know. One Giant's been slayed, so I think they're completely capable. I just like the pieces and the makeup of Villanova a bit better.
I'm with you. I am pulling for We'll know. So if Montana wins, I think I will be pulling for Villanova just for that rematch of 09, because that would be the funny. Because Villanova would then have the chance to do the funniest thing. But yeah, so it's going to be a fun weekend. I think both of these games are like legitimately good. I think you're right that I think both of these spreads are a little higher than they'll actually end up being when they come out. But yeah, so I guess as a last, before this weekend, we could check into our pick'em, which I don't think I ever actually read the scores. We are both on the season 59 and 29. A lot of that heavy lifting was done when we were picking money lines and not spreads early in the season. So it's been a little bit rougher as of late. But I am 5-4 in our game of the weeks, as Ben is 4-5. The difference being, I mean, a lot of them, but the Prairie View A&M SC State game. So I am leading with 62 points to Ben's 61. So we have a couple games left. We usually make the title game. We usually make the playoffs like increasingly more. I imagine since we haven't yet, we'll have normal this week, then make the title game worth 3 or 5 next week. So that'll kind of be the thing that decides it. It's been fun all 3 years. I'm not to brag, I'm 2-0, 2-0, but it's come down to the championship game every year. So we are. It has been competitive. You'll have to check back in next week to see who's narrowly holding the lead heading into that title game. There's a chance I think it could be tied. I think if you win Montana State and I win Illinois State, I think we tie heading in with the 2 point to the 1. Then I don't know how we decide who gets to pick first. Yeah, we'll have to like do some extra shit if that's the case. But yeah, as always, if you like what we're doing, please like, comment, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Tell your mom to like, comment, subscribe, review. And if not, Ben's DMs are always open. He is more than willing to hear your complaints. Have a good one.